here in the audience too. We're trying to get as most parents obviously here and involved in this conversation. So doing it virtually, trying to do it in person, and then we also are trying to figure out what's the best time for this too. Sometimes it's morning, some people work, I get it, and then night is sometimes bad. So I understand all that kind of stuff. We're just trying to make it easier for all of you. We are recording this, so I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is being recorded, and we're going to put this on our website too, so other people can always access this presentation too. People on the Google Meet, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat, and then we'll respond to the questions at the end. And hopefully you can all hear us. If not, just yell, and then we'll let you know, and I'll try to speak louder. Some microphones too. So first of all, welcome to junior planning morning, almost at night. Welcome to junior planning morning. We appreciate all of you for being here. My name is Mark Worsthorn. I'm the director of school counseling. That's Ms. Kedra. She is one of our counselors. Mrs. Volano, she is one of our counselors, and Ms. Brochu is also one of our counselors. The two very important people that are helping us too is Ms. Shear, who is our school counseling intern. She goes to Western Connecticut University, so she's going to be a school counselor next year. And then that's Ms. Sear back there helping us with the slides. She is our Career Center coordinator, another very, very, very important person in our department too. So what I'm going to start with is kind of where we were, where we are now, and where we're going. Really, the purpose of the presentation today is to help you know from the activities that your child should be doing now until September. And then in September, we're going to have another senior planning night about what they should be doing during their senior year. But where have we been? So where we have been so far is we've done several comprehensive counseling lessons with your students. So in grade 9 and 10, we've done career searches, we've done career clusters. Really, we're having them start to think about their careers and their jobs and what they're going to be doing after high school, and that's kind of where we're here now. Junior seminar this year, what we've been doing is all of our students have received, all of your students, your kids have received this presentation already. So we already went into the junior seminar class. We're so lucky, just by the way, to have this class because I think it's really great. It's really helped our students prepare more for after high school and learn about themselves, but also get their plans ready for after high school. That just started a couple of years ago, and it's a really great program that we've really found that our students are more prepared than they were before. We're really glad that the program exists, that class. So all of your students have gotten this presentation. The next thing that we did with them too is we call it super match lesson, which is basically about doing the college search with them. Now, we also recognize that most of the time we're talking about colleges here, because over 80% of our students go to college, but we also know that not all of our kids go. They also go to technical schools, they also go to our two-year schools, all those other kinds of programs. So we did the college search, but we also helped them go on to career cruising and do a search too for the technical schools and things like that too, if that's what they're interested in. I should have mentioned military too as another piece that our students go to also. So a couple things that they should be doing now. I'm going to go briefly through this because we're going to go into more details, and I always talk too much, so I'm trying not to. But there will be more detail about each one of these steps as we go along. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. So a couple things, just a timeline. I think timelines are always important. And if you can present this PowerPoint, if you want to do that too this year, if you can present so that way they see the PowerPoint. So timeline, some things that they should be doing now. Registering for SATs. They can take SATs more than once. They can do them on a Saturday. All of your kids will be doing the SATs on April 2nd here. They don't need to register for it. It's the Connecticut State test, but they will be taking it on April 2nd. If they want to do it more than once, they would have to register for that on the College Board, and it's on a Saturday. So, and they will, again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but they'll take the highest scores, but we'll talk more about that later. So one thing they could be doing. The next thing that they could also be doing, really right now, I like to walk. I'm trying not to walk. The other thing that that your students should be doing right now is making a junior planning meeting with your counselor. And it's going to be an assignment that they're going to give them in junior seminar, but they should be making an appointment with us, and then they can invite you to that meeting also. And if you ever want a meeting too, just contact their counselor and we can set up junior planning meetings with them too. But your student will be making that meeting with their counselor because we recognize that not everybody's plan is going to be the same. Like I said, some students will go in the military, 4-year college, 2-year college, and all those other kinds of things. We want to make sure that every single student has the plan and ready to go. That's really important. Other things that are going on too is the search process. Obviously, we went in there, we did a college search for them, but doing that, starting to narrow down the schools that they want to apply to. College visits are so important. April break is coming up, and that's a good time to go on college visits because the students are there during April break. Obviously, if you have plans, you're going to Florida or something like that, that's cool. But if you have plans already, do it over the summer, it's okay. Or if they have to take a day off from school, the college visit is so important because getting on the campus, seeing what it looks like. I've had students not want to get out of the car. They're like, oh my God, like this is the worst place ever. And I've had other students say, this is like the best place. I don't want to go anywhere else. So the visit is just critical, and we'll talk more about that too. The other piece is the resume, and junior seminar is going to do a resume. And a resume is just basically a list of activities they've been involved in, their community service, their work, their leadership activities, their sports, their whatever. They're going to work on that in junior seminar. That's something else that they should also keep working on junior seminar. Next slide. Again, open houses are really cool. Also visiting the campuses. I like open houses in some ways because when you go to open house, they give general information to all of the parents there and all the students there, and they usually have tours after. But I always say too, make your own individual time to get on the campus and experience the campus for you, for your student, what they're interested in. I think someone said mechanical engineering, their daughter's doing. Go see the engineering department there because that's what they're majoring in. See what that's about, so that way they get the real experience of the school too. All right. So hopefully you guys can hear me online, and hopefully we'll have questions at the end. Ms. Deidre is next.
Okay, so the college search, Mr. Burshorn talked a little bit about this, but basically what we want our students to use, there's 2 different tools on Naviance. There's the Super Match, which all the students were exposed to during junior seminar. College Board also has a similar feature. Basically, it allows the student to go in, plug in things that are important to them. So obviously, students want to be looking for schools that have their major most importantly. You don't want to look for a school that doesn't even have your major because what's the point of going there? You're going to have to transfer. So that's the most important criteria that they need to put into their search. Some other things they may consider: location. You know, some students want to stay close to home. Others may want to go to the opposite end of the country, go somewhere warmer. You know, it's all about personal preference, whatever they like. So we say, you know, put in a region or put in a couple of states that you could see yourself in. To just narrow that down. Size, some students don't care about size, others this is going to be extremely important for. So if you go to a large school like UConn, you're just a number. Your teacher is not going to know your name. You're sitting in a room like this and they don't know if you're there at class or not. Some students are okay with that. Others need that personal connection with their professors, so they may need a smaller school. So this is just another criteria that they could put into their search. Obviously important to parents is the cost. Students don't always think about it now, but that does play a big part of their future, what they're going to be paying back in the end. And then looking at the profile of accepted students. So, you know, what kind of student is that college accepting? You want to find schools that meet kind of where you are as a student. So if you're like a B student, you're looking for schools that accept B students. If you're a C student, there's plenty of schools that accept C students, but you don't want to be applying just to schools that are like Harvard and Yale. Unfortunately, those schools are going to be a bit out of your reach. So you're looking at schools that accept kids with similar grades, similar test scores, similar activities as your child. And from there, they're going to develop a list, which is coming up, but I have everything there. Okay. So then it's important as they do this search, start getting on those campuses. Mr. Worshworth started talking a little bit about it. Sometimes you just get a feeling when you go on the school, like this is for me, or no, it's not for me. I had one student, she went to the University of Hartford. She was so excited to go there. Our pictures, it looked beautiful to her. She got out and she said, nobody said hi to me. I hated being on the campus. It was such a small thing, but for her, it made an impact. So we say get on as many campuses as you can, even if it's a school you're not considering, but a friend is going to see it, or we're taking a field trip. Just go to get on the campus because it gives you something to compare the other schools to. You can get on the campuses by contacting admissions. If you go on their website, usually there's a link to sign up. You can call admissions, but you definitely want to get out there. And then there's also the open houses, like Mr. Worsthorn said. Attending college fairs is important. We do ours here in September, which is kind of a little bit later. By then, that's more for them to really narrow down their list. And that's more for juniors starting to go into the process. So by senior year, if they're coming to our college fair here, that's more to just kind of like finalize and maybe find a few last minute schools. But there is a national or a larger one that they do in Hartford on March 19th that students can go to as well. Additionally, we have college reps come to our career center. It's more so in the fall that they come. So next year, when your students have really narrowed down their list, we're going to have reps come in. They should sign up to meet with those reps and talk about the schools and get their questions answered. These are the reps that are going to be reading your child's application. So it's really nice for them to put a face to the name in that application, because on paper, your child is one thing, but then when they sit down with them and can have like a conversation, they come to life, they can get a better picture of whether that student's a good fit for their school. So developing a list. So some students will start with a very large list of schools based on their college search. We want them to slowly narrow it down. So look online, look at what the school offers, opportunities, and from there, narrow it down to the ones you want to visit. Then go visit. And then from there, they're going to narrow it down from anywhere to maybe 5 to 8 schools that they're going to apply to. We have some students who apply to 20. 20 is way too many colleges to apply to, because for one, it's expensive. You have to pay for every application. And two, if you get accepted to 20 colleges, you then have to narrow down which college do I want to be at. That's a lot when you're looking at 20 schools. It's also a lot to manage for their individual portals and what the college needs. So we really say, do your research ahead of time, narrow it down to 5 to 8 schools you see yourself at. You want most of them to fall in that middle category, which is going to be the schools that your child meets the profile of. They have the grades, they have the test scores, they have a really good chance of getting in. They might have 1 to 2 schools that fall in that top category, which is going to be a reach. Those are schools that maybe your child loves, but they fall a little bit short of the grade the school is looking for. Maybe their test scores are a little bit lower, but they just love the school. They want to throw out an application and see, like, maybe I'll get in. And then they need to have at least 1 to 2 safety schools. Those are the backup options. Those are the schools that you are guaranteed to get into, but also happy to attend if that's your only option. So for some of our students, that may be a community college, that may be a state school, just depending on where they fall academically. So factors that colleges are looking at when they're evaluating your student. So the first thing they're going to see is the Common App. The Common App is just an application. It's accepted by like over 800 colleges now. It allows the student to create one account. They go in and plug in all their demographic information, and then they can send it out to multiple schools. It saves them a lot of time in having to fill out multiple applications. It also saves them only having to write one essay. The Common App has one essay that you will then send to all those schools. So that's the first thing that the college is looking at. They're also going to get a copy of the student's transcript, and on the transcript, they're going to be looking at the rigor of the classes. So did the student challenge themselves? This may look different for each student. You know, for some students, rigor and challenge is going to look like a bunch of UConn and AP. For some, it may look like they took all CNCR, but junior year they tried an honors class or two. So depending on your child, it's going to look different, but they just want to see that your child is continuing to challenge themselves. They're going to look at the GPA and rank. So what's the overall grade point average, as well as where do they fall amongst their classmates. And then they're looking for improvement over the years. So a lot of times we'll have students come down and they're like, you know, I did really bad freshman and sophomore year. I didn't take school seriously. Now I'm not get into college. That's not true. Colleges just want to see that you have grown along the years. So maybe ninth grade you were getting, you know, straight C's. Sophomore years you had a couple C's and a couple B's, and then by senior year you're getting straight B's. They just want to see that you're growing and you're evolving and you're taking school more seriously. Some schools are going to evaluate standardized test scores. So this is going to be the SATs or ACTs. Not all schools require these anymore, which is great for students because not everybody is a great test taker. So there's a lot of test optional schools. This is something you're going to want to look into when you're going to these campus visits, finding out, do they require test scores? And are there some majors that may require test scores? Because the school may be test optional, but then the program may not be. So for example, a lot of times if you're applying nursing or engineering, they're going to want to see those test scores. So the school itself may be test optional, but they may say, hey, if you're applying to be a nurse, you do have to submit them. So just knowing whether you need them or not, because it will determine whether you need to take the test multiple times. I think Solano will talk about that in a little bit. And then they're looking at you as a person. So how are they seeing this? Through the student's essay, which we'll talk more about, but that's really where they come to life. They can show a little something unique about them or who they are. The extracurricular activities, what sports, what clubs, what community service did they do while they were in high school. And then the last component is the letters of recommendation, which we'll talk more about. But what are other people saying about your child? What can they tell the college that they wouldn't know otherwise? Is this filming? Early action versus early decision. So every college is going to have their own type of application type. Some are going to have what's called regular decision, which means they just give you one date. It's January 15th. The application must be in by January 15th. Others are going to have what's called rolling admission, which means as soon as you get all your application materials in, they will evaluate you and they'll usually let you know in 2 to 3 weeks whether you've been accepted. And they'll keep rolling that process until they're full. Others are going to have something called early action or early decision. We just like our students and parents to know the difference because they sound similar but are very different. So early action is you apply to the school early. They're going to notify you early whether you've been accepted, and it's not binding. You can apply to multiple schools early action. On the flip side, early decision is a binding agreement with a college. So if you apply to a college early decision, it means that if they accept you, you are committing to go to that school. And you really can't back out of it. So you need to know as a student, I 100% want to be on this campus. This is where I want to go. And the reason that they offer this, some people may wonder, like, why would a student do that? It seems kind of silly to commit, you know, in October to a school. But it does give the student a little bit of an advantage because the college knows this student is 100% committed to us. They want to be here. We are their top pick. So it gives them a little advantage in the application process. But again, just be wary. You need to make sure you can afford the school and that your kid definitely wants to be there if you're applying early decision. Yes, right?
Student resume. So this is something that they're currently working on in their junior seminar classes. And it's something that is used for both college application and scholarships. It's basically another lens to your student, any activities, clubs, sports, community service that they've been involved in here at the high school and 9th grade on. Teachers and the counselor will use this to write letters of recommendation. So it's something that the students should spend some time on reflecting on what they've worked on or been doing for their high school years. Each student will need 2 letters of recommendation, academic. They may also need one from us, the counselors. They can ask a coach. They can ask an employer. They can ask someone who knows them pretty well, kind of like a character reference. Make sure that the resume of your student is completed before they ask for a letter of threat. This way, the employer or the teacher or coach has something that they can base their letter of threat on. So they can, for example, classroom teacher talk about your student's performance in the class, but then they're going to weave in what your student is saying they're involved in outside of the classroom. Activities, sports, community service, etc., any awards. Make sure the student asks face-to-face the teacher or employer for a letter of rec. And then, of course, at the end, when they have used the letter of rec, thank them for your student. SATs. So all the juniors will be taking the SAT, digital SAT here. You don't have to register, as Mr. Worsthorn said, for April 2nd. A lot of the schools are test optional now. So you really need to go to each school to see if they are requiring an SAT, but there are specific programs, like Ms. Deidre said, like nursing and engineering that may need an SAT score for that specific program. You can practice taking the SAT on Khan Academy. If your student is free or reduced lunch, they should see their counselor and we can get them a fee waiver. These are for additional SAT tests that they may take. Pretty much they're every month. Even through the summer, I think July, there was one in July. Go online to, that's another slide. Yeah, oh yeah, it's right up there. They can go online to collegeboard.org. Typical rule of thumb is you register about a month before the actual test.
The other thing too is right now in junior seminar, they are going in, they're doing a digital readiness check, which is they just basically go on their phone books, make sure that they're all set to take the test in April. They're going to also go through with them practice materials that are on the Bluebook, also the previous time. Just look at how can my students prepare for SATs, and they're going to do that in junior seminar. Digital readiness check this week.
Another type of assessment that is accepted at most schools is the ACT. You can register on www.act.org for test dates to register. This one does have a writing portion. When your students are taking the SAT here on April 2nd, it doesn't have a writing portion. It will just be the math and reading. Pay attention to the registration deadlines. Most like the SAT, you would register a month before to avoid a late fee. You would register a month before the actual test. These are done on weekends at local universities or high schools. And there's also, when you're on act.org, there's also tutorials and practice.
This is me. All right, so the college essay. So the essay we start to talk about in junior seminar as well. In March, we will go back into junior seminars. Each month we've been doing a lesson with them. March is the college essay. So we go over what kind of typical questions will be. So the Common App, like Mrs. Deidre mentioned, that universal application. Pretty much every year they have the same essay questions. There's about 7 prompts. Here and there, they might change one question, but typically a lot of those prompts are the same. So we go over the prompts with the juniors to just start getting them brainstorm. It's really for them to have a voice in the admissions process. So, you know, yes, they have a transcript of their grades, but what else, you know, it's just numbers on a transcript. So what else can, you know, your child say to the college that they wouldn't know by just looking at their grades? You know, maybe they have this great experience where they traveled and they, you know, set up. I have a girl, she traveled with her dad, and they set up these hospitals in like Afghanistan, and it's like, I'm like, you need to put that on your resume. Maybe you should talk about that. Like that's something that is unique to you. You know, nobody else is gonna know unless you kind of put that on there. So it's really the chance to kind of talk about, you know, who you are, why you're unique, how you've grown over the years. I've also had students, you know, experience something during high school, and it is kind of reflected in their grades. So they use the essay to kind of talk about that. So there's so many different things you can do in an essay, which actually sometimes makes it harder. Some of the students have a hard time coming up with a topic because it's so open-ended. But there are those 7 prompts that can guide them. So we do start brainstorming with them in junior seminar. And what I usually tell my students is to start the rough drafts over the summer. Summertime is, you know, it's very relaxed. There's not a ton going on. You can pick up your essay, start to rough draft, brainstorm, put it down, go back to it. So really having something when they come back in September, because then they can go over with their English teacher, with their counselor. And it's typically like 650 words or less, like 500 to 650. So it's not a lot. Some kids think, I tell them and they're like, oh my gosh, that's it? Like they thought they had to write like this 5-page essay. So you kind of have to be brief, yet say a lot. So sometimes that can get tricky. You know, biggest things are, you know, not using AI, having it be your own voice, not plagiarizing, and have a lot of people proofread it. So we told the juniors this, we told the seniors this. Grades are important, especially senior year. Some students think, you know, oh, junior year is the most important, and after that, that's it. Which, you know, junior year is very important. However, if a student is on the line of they may or may not get accepted, colleges are looking at senior year grades too. They always request first quarter grades. Many request mid-year grades. So they're still looking at senior year grades all the way up until, you know, January, February. So we try to reiterate that to students too, like are students challenging themselves senior year as well. So it doesn't just kind of stop at junior year. So we try to reiterate that. Financially. So Mrs. Giedra kind of mentioned like looking at the cost and kind of having that be a factor. We will have a financial aid speaker the night of the college fair. So we have this woman that's come many years, her and her associate, they work in the financial aid office at the community college, and they know FAFSA, they know all the ins and outs. So parents have been well attended, parents have really found it helpful to kind of get those ins and outs of, you know, how do I fill it out? What if I have a special circumstance? So FAFSA is definitely a huge piece of the application process. It doesn't open until December 1st. So I've had some parents just get right on December 1st and do it. Some think, well, do I have to do that and then apply to college? So students are filling out their college applications in the fall. And then once that FAFSA opens, that application opens December 1st, you can fill it out right away. And usually they say do it earlier the better because the funds, more access to funds is if you apply early. And then usually like February, March, you'll get financial aid packages from every school. So sometimes students have asked us to kind of look at that with them. What does that mean? Because it could include loans, work study, grants, and then we go over scholarships with the seniors next year. So really all of our local scholarships that we're getting and we're posting out for students to apply, they're pretty much all like senior year stuff. So for your students, they're going to be applying in the fall, and then it kind of, once they get those college applications in, it shifts to scholarship applications, which we do walk those students through it next year as well. If any student is going to do sports in college, so Division 1 or 2, you have to fill out the eligibility NCAA, fill out an account, have an account because we have to send a transcript. So that's a requirement for student athletes. Division 3, it's not a requirement, but anyone that wants to do Division 1 or 2 sports has to do the eligibility, the application at the NCAA. Just be aware of that. All right, so this is my last slide, I think. So community college. Have you all heard that community college is free for everybody? I'm sure that's kind of been like the talk around. So the last 5 years or so, I think it started 2020, community college has been free for students. It started where you had to be a full-time student. Now I think they're actually doing it even if you're a part-time student. And it's really great opportunity for if someone wants to stay close to home, if they're undecided on the major, if they didn't get into any of the other four-year schools and they want to just build up their grades before they transfer. We have like a third of our students going to community college. So basically those first 2 years are free and then they can transfer. So our state colleges offer a very seamless transfer process. So that's Central, Southern, Eastern, and Western. Now you can still transfer to other schools. It's just because the community colleges are part of the Connecticut state system, those have that seamless transfer, but you can still take that to your degree and transfer. A big part of the community college plan is everyone has to fill out that FAFSA, that financial aid. We do actually offer an on-site acceptance day too next year. So community colleges come to the Career Center with the SEER. Students fill out their application. They meet one-on-one with a rep. They get the whole admission package right there, and we do it right on site at the school. So it's been very helpful for students that want to do that. It's a great opportunity. Seer, our career specialist, Mrs. Seer. Talk about career specialist.
So besides college, there's other routes a student can take. A lot of students are beginning to go the career school route. They could, depending on the career, they could go for a year or 2 years, pay that $30,000 one time and be done and go into a trade and make a lot of money. So the area schools that we have around here, we have Bristol Tech. Bristol Tech, there's also a high school program where our students can attend there during junior and senior year. They should see their counselor to see if that will work with their schedule. They still receive a Wilkin High School diploma, but they're attending Bristol Tech during high school and getting that trade experience. And we also had, this year we had a program with Caner Tech, a free program. Kids were able to sign up, grade 11 and 12, go to Caner Tech after school and get some experience in the trade. They got their OSHA certification. It was free. They just had to have their own transportation. Other schools in the area, Porter and Chester, right down the street, they offer a career exploration program where maybe the student's not sure what trade they want to go into. They go there for the day. They get to go in the classroom. So that's helpful. They get to see what a trade school is like and try out the different trades. They get to see me if they're interested in that. There's also IMTI. That's downtown. I think it's on Mill Street in Waterbury. They're a little less expensive. And then there's Lincoln Tech. And Lincoln Tech has several locations. That's one of the field trips that we're going this year. So that's it. And also the community colleges also have some trades, some certificate programs where students could attend for free and then go into their trade or their area that's interested. Also, I have the military come in. They come into the school. They're always in the cafeteria. Friday, I have the Army coming in. So if the students are in, if military is something they're considering, they can talk to the recruiter. They don't have to talk to the recruiter here. You can set up an appointment and go with them. Or if you want to meet with that student in here with the recruiter, I can set that up. You can just contact me. A part of the military is the ASVAB. So I offer that in November. And the way we set it up, the military doesn't receive their scores unless the student releases them. So it's kind of like a practice. If they don't, if they don't do as well as they wanted to, they don't even see the score. But if they do well, they can release it. So that's always in November. So if students are interested in the military, they should look for ASVAB.
All right, so last slide. Don't worry, everybody's so excited. This is Connecticut Automatic Admissions 2 is something that just started 2 years ago, and it's changed every year. So this is what it was like last year. So what it is it's basically any student who had over an 83.3 weighted GPA were automatically admitted to, it was, I think, 12 schools. So it was all of our state schools. It was Mitchell. It was St. Joe's, University of New Haven. All those lists, by the way, those colleges change every year. So that's what it was this year. But it was really cool. They don't have to do their essay. They don't have to do recommendations. The application fee is waived. We are going to do a common application workshop with all of our seniors next year in English classes in September. And we'll talk to them about this, and we'll talk to them about if any of this stuff has changed. Because what it is they get certain applications through the common application to be able to be accepted into these programs. So we'll talk more about that, but that's just something I wanted you to be aware of. It's a really cool new program. Connecticut started 2 years ago. So really, like I started this presentation too, is really where we're at, where we're going, and my goal, like I said, is for you to know some steps from now till September. Some things that are going on, we mentioned them a little bit. Our college trips are happening, so we're going to be going to UConn. We're going to be going to Lincoln Tech, to the UConn branch, Naugatuck, Quinnipiac. So most of the students have already signed up for those. I think we still have room, by the way, at the branch and Naugatuck trip, because those are all on one day, correct? Yep. I'm sorry, Tungus, not Naugatuck. So we're going to, that was last year. Tungus and the branch we're going to together on one day. There's still room on that. So if your child has not signed up, sign up. So that's a really opportunity for them to go during the school day to go visit. Like we mentioned, SATs are coming up. That's on April 2nd. The other thing, we're having an essay workshop like this brochure was talking about. That's going to be during the junior seminar classes. Again, giving them kind of a start your essay, start working on what you're going to write about, workshop in junior seminar classes too. So I hope I met your goal with that. But is there any questions so far? Anybody from the Google Meet have questions? You can throw them in the chat if you want to. Or do you guys have any questions too? Wow, we did that good of a job. Well, I hope this works with all this technology. I'm always nervous, but this will be recorded again. I already put the PowerPoint already up on our website already. This PowerPoint is up, so if you like the dates or any of those kinds of things, same with you guys. It's up on the website. If you guys want to take paper copies, you can take those home. But thank you for coming. We appreciate you, and the more that we can collaborate and help your kids, the better. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
You guys. Thank you. Unlike people. No comments or anything? Nothing.
She said, thank you.
All right, grab coffee before you leave too, because we can't drink that whole pot.